Hello, welcome back to another video. I've had several questions about where we store a month's worth of groceries in our smaller home. I have a pantry that's right back there, and then I also have a baked goods baking type section in our home, and I did show that in last month's grocery haul for April. I showed the bucket system I kind of use to keep our stored bulk goods. And then I'll also take you downstairs to the basement where we also have a little bit more storage down there. But I thought I would kind of go through and show you what I am doing at the moment. I'm working in my baked goods section, just getting that all organized after we went grocery shopping yesterday. My kids helped put everything away, so everything is just kind of shoved places, and I'm going to go through and get it all organized. So I thought I'd bring you along and show you how I do that. So underneath here is where I store a lot of our baking items. So it's kind of dark back here in the cupboard, but I'll just kind of walk through and show you how I organize it and what we put in here. So this is baking soda, and I actually I use baking soda in laundry. So I buy this humongous, I'm not even sure how much it weighs, but this big yellow bag of it from Sam's Club. You can look it up on their website. And then I make sure that I fill this every time I buy one. So you know, it's kind of running out low because I've not bought it in a while, but that'll last us for a while yet. So I fill this up every time, so that'll be full. And then I keep those 2 containers of baking powder that I bought yesterday, got opened up, if I can open this up, and they got dumped in here. So this will hold about 2.5 of them. And that's my dishwasher going off. And then this is salt. I get my salt in a 5-pound bag from Azure Standard, and we're running pretty low on that. So my Azure Standard order has not come yet, but so that'll be filled up. So I keep salt there. And then we obviously buy vanilla by the quart. One of these days I'll make my own, but I'm just not there yet. This is cocoa powder, and then this is usually pretty full. And that's probably about half full at the moment. So that'll need to go on next month's grocery list. And then there's just a couple random things back there. There's a little bottle of corn syrup from, I don't remember what, but that's back there for something. And then probably candy making from Christmas, I think. And then I've got 2 bags of this beef gelatin powder. And then we use that for making homemade gummies and homemade Jell-O with fruit juice. This is our big container of chocolate chips, and then the butterscotch chips. Those stay there in the back to deter children from eating it. Doesn't always work, but it helps. And then that's actually some salt that my son had bought to make, what did he make? He made homemade Play-Doh. So we got the cheapo salt for that. So I told him, you're not going to use my good sea salt for making Play-Doh, but you can use that. And then those are some quick cooking oats. And then I usually keep the Crisco right here. There's just a bunch of random things back here. I've got a couple packages of Jell-O pudding. Oops, let's raise the camera so you can see it. There's a package of cherry Jell-O back there. There's a package of orange Jell-O back there. I think there's some peanuts from a baking project I did, and then these are walnuts. And then I've got some coconut oil and a smaller thing of coconut oil that we use for a couple of random things as well. So this is the new Crisco. So we will put that kind of there. The oil usually sits here, and then I fill up this bottle for cooking spray. This usually sits here on the bottom. We'll get to the bottom in a minute. There we go. So those are basically my essentials on the top shelf, and if people put them away, it stays fairly organized. If they don't, well, you know how it goes when kids bake. And then the pudding, I will just tuck back here and make that for my husband when I am ready to do so. Down here on the bottom, I keep a 5-gallon bucket, and that has my flour in it. So one of the bags of flour I bought yesterday, the 25-pound bag, fits in there. And then, like I said, those are some quick cookie notes. Back here, I have the powdered sugar. I filled this container up. This is cornmeal that's running very low, so I'm gonna have to get some more of that. All the powdered sugar, the 7-pound bag does not fit in here. So I tuck it back there, and then as we use this, I'll fill that up. And then the raisins typically just sit there. This is usually brown sugar. When I emptied the 25-pound bag I got yesterday, I emptied it into here. Actually, no, it wasn't this one. Which one was it? This one. I finished filling up this container. I filled up that container because it was pretty empty. And then I mentioned at one point that I actually make my own brown sugar. And speaking of that, I'm not sure where my molasses went. Anyhow, I make my own brown sugar. So I took the leftover sugar that was in that bag and I put it in here. And here's a little parenting hack for you. If you've got some homemade cupboards that don't work very well with the child locks they have on the market, you can take a couple hair bands and put them around the knobs nice and tight, and then the 1-year-old can't get in there and get into all of the raisins that she just absolutely loves. So that's how I keep my 1-year-old out of that. All right, and here's a look at the current state of the pantry. It is a, well, I was gonna say a bit, but it is very much a conglomerated disaster. So I'm very thankful for my children helping getting the groceries all put away so that we could have a table to eat off of. But now it is time to organize this mess and get this to a point where we can function with it. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, this is kind of how we're looking so far. I've pulled out a bunch of stuff here from the bottom and kind of gotten the bottom organized. This is kind of how we keep things here. So I have 2 Dutch ovens. One is dirty at the moment, but I have 2 Dutch ovens that live in here because I don't have any space in my counter or in my cupboards for it. And then during the winter, we have several hot chocolates here. My extra liner for my pressure cooker is there. I'm going to try to put my pressure cooker up here. Usually it lives here, but we have more boxes of Pepsi now. So I'm going to see if I can get it to fit up here on this shelf. I opened up these boxes and they stacked nicely here. The apple juice is going to live there. I know it doesn't look like it too much, but I did actually clean up over here. I organized that a little bit better, and it just, yeah, it just looks better. I don't know if it looks better on camera, but it looks better to me. So this vinegar is going to go up top here eventually, but I'm not there yet. Those are some reusable bags. And then there's just some extra storage, kitchen storage stuff that I don't use a whole lot down there. So we're going to keep working on stuff here. We're going to jump up to the next shelves. All right, and the next shelf up, we're looking pretty good. I've got all this stuff here. That was a dented can, so I won't, or that's a dented can. I gotta figure out where I'm pointing in the camera. That's a dented can, so I'm gonna make sure that I use that first. And one thing I realized I didn't buy was tomato soup. So that was interesting. I blanked out on that for whatever reason. So no tomato soup for this month, but that'll be fine. We've got some tomato products there to work through for the month. And I've got my tomato slices here, and then the crushed, not tomato, oh my goodness, I'm reading tomato here. Pineapple slices here, and then the crushed in the back, and I'll know where that is. But yeah, things are looking pretty good. We've got a shelf cleaned up here. Oh, I need to put the other box of crackers away. It's sitting on the table, but that'll go there. There's some taco shells there. And I do rotate my stock, so I bring out the old stuff and I put the old stuff in front, and then I put the new stuff behind it. That way we're constantly using the older stuff first. All right, now we got to deal with this pasta shelf before we move on to that side of the pantry. All right, and I'm pretty much going to call this done. I got a bunch of stuff reorganized. Sorry, the lighting's not great in here. I don't have a light in the pantry. Let's see if turning on the dining room light helps. Not too much. But anyway, so we've gotten it all organized. I put my potatoes and onions and garlic back, and I'm gonna try to put the pressure cooker there. I had a whole bag of, those are 40 ounce cans. I saw those at Walmart when I went shopping last week to get a couple things. They were $1 a can, so I got six of them, and we'll end up using those. Those are really, really good. So yeah, this is how we get it all in here. So I usually have condiments up there, and I have several large muffin tins that go there. But yeah, this is kind of how we do this up here. This is our working pantry, so this is for all the stuff that we go through on a daily basis. So the majority of the time I can get a month's worth of stuff in here, and then I'll supplement from downstairs, and I'll show you that next. All right, so here is the setup in the basement. This is a stand-up freezer, and we don't always have this plugged in, but it's there if we need it. And then this is our second refrigerator freezer, and we've just got a bunch of different things in here, and then down to the fridge we store the rest of it in here. So we do we're blessed to be able to have both of them. And this is just what I commonly refer to as like our overflow fridge. So we keep some other things in there, and then we'll go over to the food room next. All right, so if you saw my how we get our whole beef for the year, you've already seen this, but this is a big deep freezer. I don't know how big it is. I just know it will hold a whole cow. That's what I know. So we just put a bunch of stuff in here. I just managed to get our strawberries for the year, so that's all that's on the top is strawberries and raspberries. But the bottom of it basically holds all of our beef, and then just some random stuff that ends up thrown up on top. So I've got broccoli in here, and yeah, just different stuffs in here. And then this part over here is where we're in the middle of transitioning stuff here, but this is what's left of the canned goods from last year. So I will bring these upstairs, and we will kind of eat off of this. So there's cherries, and then pears, applesauce, and then those are just apple slices. And then I've got some canned potatoes, and then those are actually pears. Hold on. So what's down here? I think those are more pears. Anyway, I'm not sure why those pears are up there, but I think the kids just randomly put them there. And then I got a jar of green beans that somebody nicely gave me, and then the rest of this is corn from last year. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and it's dwindling quickly, but we will look to fill all this up this summer. And then the last little space of food that I have down here is, this is where I keep the majority of my jellies and jams, and I'm very severely low on all that. I've got kidney beans on the bottom there, and then some relish over there, and I think that's the last jar of cranberry sauce that we've got. So that is how we store a month's worth of food in our house. So if you had any other thoughts or questions, go ahead and drop me a comment down below. If you like this video, if you would consider liking and subscribing, I would really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.